There we go. So welcome. Good morning. We are recording every single Zoom meeting. So then I repost it on YouTube almost within the next hour after our session has ended. So you can always go back now and listen and tune in to the lessons that I'll put up there on YouTube. So if you miss something, if you have to duck in and out, or you weren't sure about information that was spoken or said, all that will be archived on our um, YouTube page. So today, what I did in the classroom is I actually put a link to our YouTube page. It is right there, as you can see. So it says WSB Audio Pro on YouTube. That is our YouTube channel. And you can almost see by the thumbnail right there that yesterday's lesson was posted to the YouTube channel, I'm going to say about a half an hour after the session was over. So I went back in, I did a quick edit or two just to make sure we didn't, leave stuff in there that wasn't necessarily important information, and then just saved it out and posted it up. So it'll be up there every day now. If in fact you missed the session for some reason or what, I think the key component is that now that we're recording it, I can also keep track of attendance like I did last week. It's just a little more easy for me. So it gives me some stats on who is here and who is not. And again, I reached out to more people. I tried to make more phone calls and send more emails and have the school contact us and give them my email, or have the school contact people that haven't been joining at all. Give my email so people can get into the chat and get into the lessons, because these are just as important as coming to school now. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the Instagram Live. I just use that briefly every day to just try to attract people, whoever has their, notifications on, whether it be on Instagram Live or Zoom, or just their phone alarm, which makes a lot of sense to, hey, wake up, get up, and just watch a video or two before the day starts. So there it is. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm just going to end this Instagram. I don't want to share it right now. So I ended the Instagram Live situation. I did post last week's notes up on Instagram Live as well. And I posted notes up here. Again, where are they? They are down here, right here. So these were last week's notes. I believe that was fairly comprehensive. So I will post new notes tomorrow after our lesson. So you have, like I mentioned, 48 hours to go over everything. And in addition to watch this week's videos, if you want to review stuff on what the test is going to be like. I was just editing up the test before we started today, and putting on some key components of what we've already learned, plus new stuff that's going to be covered this week. So, yeah, I mean, everything is going to be done through Google Classroom. I did have people expressing concern on how we were going to take the test. That's an interesting concept, because right now I can't get all of the 18 to 20 people that I know have been in touch with me. And that's not even counting the 10 or 20 people that have not been in touch with me and think this will all just go away. Everything will be fine. And it definitely will not be. So, like I said to a parent yesterday, actually, it was funny. I called home. I finally got in touch with somebody. I said, does your student know that there is lessons going on every single week? They said no. I said, did you get a packet at home? They said yes. I said, did they bother to read the packet? They said, I don't know. And there's in lies some of the problems, that if you are not following through on some of the stuff that was there, then you are definitely going to miss something. So the packets that went home directed people to Instagram, which I gave out, also our YouTube page. And if you go on Instagram, there should be no excuse as to knowing that there are things going on. On Instagram is the class code for the Google Classroom. And there is also, every week, I will repost on Instagram as well, the daily meeting code for the week for Zoom. And with that said, everyone has a phone. So at the very least, you can watch the videos at one point or other, tune in for a few minutes getting the Zoom app. And then, of course, the work, well, that falls on you. And I know some of the schools, I just got word from our school that they are starting to hand out Chromebooks to students that do not have electronic devices, which is nonsense because your phone is good enough. But it's good enough for everything else. It should be good enough for this. But if it's not good enough, if you need some sort of working Chromebook or keyboard or whatever it is that you feel is necessary, then please contact your homeschool district and ask if they have any Chromebooks for lending. And then someone can go pick it up. They're doing pickups at the local school districts. That was the word we got as a centralized school district that we are, with 18 different districts communicating with us. We get some intel from all the districts. I can't specifically say which districts are handing them out. I don't know, but I know they are. And I know our school is as well. So if you see anybody that's not in the chat and you've talked to them and they have said, oh, I can't do it because I don't have the appropriate electronic device, please let them know this information. Please have them contact me. My email was in that packet that went home. My contact information, everything that you could possibly need to find out data is in that packet. Now, not everything in that packet was exactly the way it's turning out to be, because we did that in literally about 4 hours to get those out to everybody. Things have changed, but all those changes are cited through our website, our Instagram, and of course, our Google Classroom. So here we are with 12 people, 6 less than yesterday. Not great, but I'd like to start the lesson. Again, trying to take the first 10 minutes like I always do to just kind of warm everybody up, to figure out what's going on. So I'll minimize this kind of stuff so you can see more of my screen. As you can see, as I mentioned, post came out today at 9:37. Today, we're going to be talking about Logic shortcuts, which we will be. Many of the ones that we use are found in the notes, but please make sure you pay attention to the lessons as we go through a lot of shortcuts in our lessons. Again, now that the lessons are being recorded and putting up on Facebook afterwards, if you miss something along the way, you can always go backwards and find out that information, write it down in your notebook. I hope that you guys are copying these notes into the notebook, because that's what you're supposed to do. And now, if you don't have a notebook at home, I understand. Just copy it onto a piece of paper. When we get back to school sometime, hopefully in May, we could just attach everything into that notebook. And we'll have about a month and a half to 2 months of time together before I set you free into the world for the summer, or for good. Who knows? Attached is a link for our YouTube page. As I mentioned, it's right here. And in addition, you can find a link to some shortcuts that may be vital to producers when working with Logic. Let's just crank into that for 1 second, because I found that very interesting. I use a lot of resources online for shortcuts. Some of the ones that I teach in class obviously are the most the easiest ones. They're the single letter codes, or the most used codes that you can possibly use, or shortcuts rather. But this site gave me a little more insight into some of the ones that producers are using over and over and over again. So this is an interesting one. I always found that capturing MIDI is one of those hard things, especially when you're by yourself, to do. You have your fingers on a keyboard, you're trying to like cue up the music, maybe put a pre-roll on, and even so, to get into the groove and to get working doesn't always work right. Great thing about Logic is it is constantly listening to your MIDI information coming into the computer. And whether you see it or not, it actually is taking in that data. Because it's such a small amount of data, MIDI information is so tiny that it's very easy for the software to listen to it and record it and store that MIDI information, whether you're going to use it or not. So capturing a MIDI recording after it's been played. So here I am, I'm just messing around on the keyboard, trying out something, and then I just stumble upon like this magical little riff, or magical little, couple of notes that I played. I went, wow, that was awesome. Now, I didn't record that though. Oh, I wish I could play it exactly the way it just was. Well, guess what? Logic was listening the whole time you were playing. In order to get that MIDI performance back into the computer, even though you missed recording it, you can hit Shift R. So using that, we're able to capture what you played even after you've played it. That's so cool. This is one of those extra shortcuts that I do talk about and show in class. I'm not going to do it here. I don't have my MIDI keyboard set up right now. But it's a very useful one, that's for sure. And I've used it a few times when I put into something like I put like a 8-bar section into a loop, and I just kind of mess around with chords or mess around with individual notes. So as I'm messing around, I say to myself, wow, that was awesome. I want to keep that performance. I stop, hit a space bar, hit stop on the transport controls, and then I hit Shift R. So that will recall the performance you just played. And maybe if you guys want tomorrow, when we're more physically doing something in Logic, like recording audio or recording MIDI, that I can show you that. But right now, I just wanted to show you this page full of shortcuts. And no, these will not be on the test. If anyone was going to raise their hand and ask, will these be on the test? No, I'm just doing this for you guys, just to show you a couple of things. Zooming in and zooming out. Now, I very rarely use the keyboard to zoom in and zoom out. I constantly using my mouse because I use the MIDI mouse, the touch mouse. Very easy to zoom in, and just with holding a button like Option, I can zoom in and zoom out very fast. So I very rarely use key commands or shortcuts to zoom in and zoom out, but you can. If you hold down Command and you touch the arrow keys, there's, what the hell just happened? There are ways, I think I just closed the window. That was interesting. There are ways that you could zoom in and zoom out. Just holding down holding down Command and hitting those arrow keys allows you to zoom vertically and horizontally within the mix window or edit window for that matter, not mix window. Move the playhead by musical bars. Yeah, the two little buttons down on the bottom right of a keyboard, that's the comma and the period, actually can jump you full bars back and forth. That's not something you'd have to set up, as a grid mode or anything like that. That actually is a really easy way to kind of skip ahead in a project. Again, I don't use that very much, but it seems like producers that use Logic have been using that, especially when, I guess, editing MIDI or loops. That probably would become very handy. Move a region to the playhead position. Wow. So I have positioned my playhead right here on the timeline. And this particular clip was shifted down here. If I click the clip and move the playhead, all I have to do is push semicolon, and that clip will jump to the starting point of the playhead. I have used that. Not a lot, but I have used that. It is a very simple one-button shortcut. Easy cycle loop specific area, Command U. So select two different clips and just hit Command U. And those clips now will define the start and end of a cycle or a loop. And that's what that yellow bar is. We can talk a little bit about that today if you like. Moving through settings and presets using the, I guess they're not parentheses, but they're, I forget what you call them. They're the, I can't think of it. Did they actually say it in here what they actually are? The brackets. Yeah, I guess brackets would be the way to call it. But I don't even like that. There's definitely an English term for them. So, yeah, I mean, these brackets can shift and change information in a plugin. So presets and settings within the software itself. Pretty cool. Learn a parameter, your keyboard controller. Ooh. So if you have a keyboard controller, if you have a MIDI controller, you can actually have it learn a very specific parameter. So if I wanted something like the mix of the chorus to be controlled by a certain button on my MIDI keyboard, I can do that. I'd click on the Command L, I'd tell it what I want. You'd see the parameter box show up here. We can go over that later, but right now that's just another cool command. Control Command A. Now we're getting into multiple keys here. Record live parameter movements. Now that is cool, especially if you don't have a MIDI controller. So let's say you're in an EQ and you want to automate the movement of one of the parameters in the EQ. So what I have to do is set it up so that it records it live as I do it. So Control Command A, and then as I move it with my mouse in the plugin, it will record that change here in the automation area for that particular plugin or that particular parameter. Let me let, who's coming in? Wawa, welcome back, Wawa. All right, here's another one, repeat entire sections. So if you go ahead and select a section of information, you can actually have it repeat that entire selection. I don't think I've ever used this. I would just pretty much use cycle. You could see the cycle is different than the repeat here. So that's interesting. But pretty cool. Great for adding length to your song. So you basically want to take this whole section that's looped and create a whole nother 8-bar section of it. Very cool. Typically what I do personally is I would click, drag, and highlight that whole section, just hold Option and drag it off, and I'd have a complete copy anyway. But I guess this is another way of just doing things like there always is, and many different ways of doing the same exact thing. Convert loops to real copies. Yes, I use this all the time in MIDI. Control L can take a actual loop, which is usually grayed out if you're not paying attention. Like if you have a MIDI loop and it's grayed out, you can't do much with it. But if you click on it and hit Control L, you will be able to convert it into its own MIDI loop, not a cycle loop. I can show you that in the software and how important it is to do stuff like that. Convert audio regions to independent copies. Well, that's kind of cool. I mean, I find that useful if you're doing something for audio and you want a clip or a cut that you created, a very specific clip, to be now its own audio file. It's almost like exporting the clip. So only that now there's a quick option for it. So Option Command F will do that. Those are just some of the ones that I throw in there that I thought were kind of cool. For all those who entered, if you missed something at the beginning of the lesson today, again, you can go into our YouTube channel. And about a half an hour after the lesson today, we will repost this and you can watch it again for the things that you may have missed. As I mentioned in the class stream today, we will be talking about shortcuts. Now, we've done, believe it or not, a lot of shortcut work already. We've done a bunch of shortcut work already. You probably may have missed it if you weren't paying attention. Let's go into our testing here. All right. So when we got in here and we started explaining the parts of the software, I would say, okay, here's the library. All right, the library is here. And that library can be activated by clicking on it. But then I also told you that the library can be hidden and revealed by pushing the letter Y. Y is for the library. Why is it Y? I don't know. Probably because L does something else. But a lot of the other ones kind of make sense. The inspector is I. That makes sense to me. Quick keys for this. I. We know that we can drop down the toolbar. This one is a claw T. That is Control Option Command T. I don't use this, but if you, and we probably won't test on that. But it is something that if you're looking for it, T wouldn't work here because we know T brings up the tools inside the edit window, or really anywhere. I can do it from up here. I can do it from all the way up here. Look at that. I can do it anywhere on the page. I could do it from the transport window. I could do it from the quick bunch. I could do it from all sorts of places. So T is already taken. We have our smart controls. And now our smart controls, we're able to be hidden and revealed by the letter B. So Y for library. Y, I don't know why. I for inspector. B for smart controls. Okay. We know the mixer can be hidden and revealed. X for mixer with an X. And then we have our single channel editor, and an editor is E. So some of them will be very easy to know and understand. By the way, let's see what we got over here for loops, because loops, you would think, okay, they should be the L, but nah, they're typically not. List editors would be D. So those are the event marker, signature information, all the things that happen within a program. The notes would be N. We're not going to test you on that, but the loops are O. Think about it. How many O's are in the word loop? 2 O's. Oh my. So that way you can quickly hide and reveal certain parts of the project. O, Y, I, X, B, and the last but not least is your media. And the media browsers are F. And this allows you to get into all this. I don't believe I'm going to test you on F, but the ones that make the most sense are O for loops, Y for library, I for inspector, B for smart controls, and X for mixer, and maybe E for editor. That becomes a really nice, quick access to lots of parts of this program. Okay, so let's also talk about those quick keys that were down in here that we talked about already. The first one, obviously, we just talked about was T, T for the tools. And now once you are able to drop down your tools, you have another letter that you can push to activate a different type of tool. So instead of the primary pointer tool, if I want it to be a fade tool, I'll just hit A. You can see it down here on the list, A. And now my tool, as you can see, is a fader tool, which I can drag and create fades on either side of my audio. Again, T, and then pick another one. We'll just go back to pointer, T, and that puts you back into the pointer tool. I use this a lot to constantly be editing and then scrolling and editing and scrolling back and forth is ridiculous. You want quick access, so TA gets me into my fade tool, TT brings me right back. So those are quick keys we've already talked about. To access the secondary tool, you have to hold down Command, so T, Command A. And there it is, secondary tool. So T, again, Command, holding it down and hitting pointer tool brings me to my secondary tool back to a pointer. T, holding down Command and going to A, activates my fade tool. So just easy ways of doing things without moving your mouse all over the place all day long. And especially if you're dealing with dual screens where you're sliding across different screens back and forth, it just takes too much time in the end. All right, what else did we talk about? We did A for automation. A drops down automation information. So I just hit the letter A and all of a sudden magically automation pops up. That's amazing. It's amazing. G was another one we quickly talked about. This was our global tracks. Again, if I hover this over, it actually shows me G as being my global tracks. So that's an easy one. H is hiding. We will probably talk more about this when we start doing some editing and creating here in the upcoming days. But H is a way that in Pro Tools, what we did was we just clicked on a dot. And here, we have to hit the H button to activate it. Click on the H button on the track that you want to hide, and then hit H again, and it disappears. So a lot of H's. But then it's actually showing you that there is something hiding. So if I hit H again, it's back. I can uncheck it, get rid of my H's, and now here we go. Those are just some of the ones we've already kind of dropped into. I'm sure there's many others that you guys might use, but I want to show you a few today as well that are quite useful when editing. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in really quick. Again, I'm holding down Option and using my mouse my little mouse scrolly ball to zoom in and zoom out. I can do that very fast. I'm very good at it at this point in my career. So I usually use that option because I can really pinpoint something very fast. So I'm going to click on this clip, and let's say I want to make a cut here. Now, to take your tool and to get the scissors out and to make that cut, that's a lot of keystrokes. You know, I had to first bring the tool, I had to get the scissor, I had to click. I know this is going to seem like I'm nitpicking a little bit, but it's a little easier if you just use another command, and that command is Command T. Command T allows you to cut audio files where the playhead is. I'll do it again. So my audio playhead is right there. I'm going to put it right where I want it, and then I'm going to hit the clip, and then I'm going to hit Command T, and now it's cut. This is extremely quick and easy. I use this more than any other shortcut known to man in any other program. All right, I'm probably lying. I'm going to say, cut and paste I use a lot because it spans every single program, no matter what I'm doing. But I'll say in Logic, Command T is the key that allows me that quick access to cut an audio file, Command T. So far, so good. Great. Let's talk about the looping part because that was kind of cool. Let's go into that. I'm going to loop this out. So just this clip, about 4 bars. And as we said, the original clip, which is this, is still highlighted, but the rest of it, the next 3 bars, are actually grayed out. Now, to get those to be real pieces of audio, Control L will turn those into real pieces of audio. And now I can separate them. Oh, well, I can't do it when they're high. Hey, stop it. I can separate them when they're not all highlighted together. So now I can take them and put them where I want them. You know how in our open, there's a lot of stuttering, the chopping up of it. Well, this is one of the ways I'm able to do that. I take a small section and I loop it, and then I convert them, and then I chop them up. So now each clip is its own audio file. So if I were to now shrink this, that one's smaller than this one independently. They're not all going to shrink down to this size. So yeah, there's other ways of doing that as well. I mean, I could just hold down Option and drag it off and create copies. That's another way of creating that separated loop. Oops, make an Option copy of that like that. Yeah, you could do that. There's ways of doing it. But I said, for me, what works best is doing that loop, and then Control L makes them into real audio clips. And I can get rid of that dangling one over there. And now I have all my clips perfectly in a line. You could see also here in the clips list that they become their own audio files. And they can also be exported as their own audio files. That's extremely important because if I wanted a smaller version of this clip and I wanted that to be its own audio file, well, there we go. I have it down. Let's say I was sampling and this is my sample now. Then I would have it and I would be able to save the region as a brand new audio file. These are just some of the basic commands that I'm using on a day-to-day basis in Logic to achieve certain goals. Now, if I wanted to have, like I said to you before, a copy of this, holding down Option and dragging it off, you can see my mouse turns to the plus button. So that's actually fairly useful, I would say, especially if you're just doing one copy or you're trying to drag it to a new track and you wanted to make that copy on a brand new track. So I would probably create a duplicate track and then, not of the MIDI though, of the audio. Duplicate track, and then I could go ahead and drag that down here, and now it's on its own track. And you could have some weird echoes be played here like this. And just because I put them offset, they start to play off each other a little bit, as we know. I'll go backwards a little bit here. All right, so what else can we do on this track? Well, we know there's something called flex time. We did not necessarily go into this, but I do want to just quickly show you what flex time can do. We'll keep this clip as it is. To activate flex time, here's a shortcut, Command F. Command F flips down the flex time information. By the way, again, we went over this, but flex time is right here, hide and reveal flex time. So Command F. These are shortcuts we already have talked about. I'm just now showing you what they do when you activate them. So flex time right now is activated, but now I have to put it active on the track. So to do that, I'd have to come over here and just enable the flex. And now what flex time allows me to do is to stretch audio out, wrong way, like this. So now I can slow it down without changing the pitch. Yes, there is. This is the original again. And then I'll move it back a little bit really quick just so we can stretch it. And then I can stretch it out right here. I can stretch it out a little more. And again. So there we go. There's a bunch of ways to manipulate audio, and I could do it even within the clip. As you can see, there's a little lines here, and those lines can be moved, and I could stretch and compress certain parts of it. I don't necessarily have to do only the whole clip. I can do little bits and pieces within that. So I can have it start off on time, and then I can have it slow down, and then I can have it speed up. So as good as flex time is for things like audio and voice recording, it becomes even more important when you can use this for drums and percussion to keep time on a grid. If I were to align my audio right up to a grid line, you could see I'm not quite on the grid here. So if I had a click, it probably wouldn't sound all that correct. So what I could do is, as you can see, at the bottom here, I'm actually going to compress this a little bit so it matches up with the bar at the bottom. Then this one, I'm going to match up to this bar. And then on this one, I'm going to match up to this bar. And it kind of creates this kind of weird, uh, let's say, timed feel. So I'll put the click in for a second here, and let's see what it sounds like. There is a vocal recording here. That's kind of cool, right? There is a vocal recording. There, vocal, here, all were on beat. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to use that for speech like this is, but if I had voiced music or sung music or things that need to be hitting exactly on the beat and you're a little behind or a little ahead, this allows you that small, short control over realigning and getting things to play nicely in the mix. One of the parts of mixing is making sure all the instruments and all the tracks feel right together, not just individually that are on time, but that they all are moving together in some sort of way. And so this is one of those tricks that people use to have their vocals line up to the beat. I like it. I use it, I want to say fairly often when it comes to vocals, but I use it a lot more when recording real drums because even if the top drummers in the world are sometimes off by a little bit, they speed up, they slow down. So you, as an engineer, then have to go in and kind of realign some of those, accented marks or unaccented hits, and they should align to a bar or a beat in time because the drummer in the end is probably going to be playing to a click track, which is basically a metronome. So that's what flex time can do. We're not going to go crazy right now with that, but to hide and reveal it, again, the shortcut today would be Command F. All right, so far so good. All right, a few more that we've already talked about, and then we're done for today with the shortcuts. And again, all of these in one way or another have appeared, whether it be in the notes or whether they were talked about in previous lessons last week and now into this week. But today I want to make sure everyone knows the quick keys that we're going to be learning. So this main window here, this edit window, is usually the window you're going to be doing most of your post-production in. You're also going to probably have to have the mix window. So we know we can bring the mix window in down here, but I find this, as I said last week, very limiting to have the mix window here in the bottom. So what do? We hit Command number 2, and that brings up our full window for the mixer. So this is a very important window in addition to the edit window. These two windows are the primary windows that I'm jumping back and forth in. So what would get annoying after and over time is clicking back and forth into them, constantly bringing up the window time after time after time. So I find that Logic puts in a really good, easy way to kind of go back and forth between the two windows very easily, holding Command and hitting the tilde. What is a tilde? Tilde is the button next to the number 1 on the keyboard. It looks like a swivelly line that goes over an N, an enye, as also people call it. But the enye or tilde here ends up being your back and forth. Very quickly, you're able to jump back and forth between the two windows. I'm doing some stuff in the mixer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Then I want to go back into the editor and edit my clip. And then let's hear how that sounds. So I'm going to do it in the mixer. So doing that back and forth is actually really, really efficient. So again, set up your windows by Command 1 gives you the edit window, Command 2 gets you the mix window, and now that you have both of them in sight, Command tilde or Command Nye will get you back and forth between the two. That's another quick key that we will definitely have on the test on Friday, because that is probably, besides me coming in here and editing and cutting, that's probably the second most used quick key or shortcut that I do. Command back and forth between the two windows. You guys saw me do something here. I don't know if you saw it, but I held down Option and clicked on this fader. And what that does is reset the fader to 0. Now, when I push play, it looks like there was automation there. So it follows the automation because I'm in read mode. But if I want to reset the fader again really quick, what I would do is hold Option and click on the fader. Now, this is more of a mixer shortcut than an edit window shortcut, and that's fine. But I just wanted to show you that Option is very versatile and allows you many different ways of resetting and controlling. I mean, obviously, you guys know in order to get this clip to be orange instead of blue, we held down Option and hit the letter C. This is the color wheel, and this allows me now to color tracks. So instead of orange, I wanted a purple, or maybe I wanted a dark purple, or dark green, dark yellow, or dark orange. Same thing happens over here in the mixer. Command tilde to drop me over here. If I want this track to be a different color, not this yellow, maybe I want it to be dark yellow. Maybe I want it to be blue or aqua. Maybe I want it to be blue or purple. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. But the color wheel, to show it, Option C. Back and forth, Option C. So there it is, and there it goes. And it can be used to color track, as you can see, and it can be used to color clips. And by all means, have the defaults on there, green and blue and whatever it is that you want to do. But in the end, sometimes I find color to be a great organizer. Color is the great organizer. And it allows us to quickly identify parts, clips, sections, however you want to do it. I have a project that I did in Logic years and years and years ago that I fully colorized. And I usually show you guys what it looks like to have a full project colorized, but I don't have that project here. It's on the hard drive at school. But we know yesterday, as we went to the Apple website and looked at Logic, or the Logic page, that what it looks like to have a fully colorized project looks pretty cool. They matched the colors of their tracks to the colors of their clips. So that was a cool way of just kind of showing off a little bit, honestly. They are just showing off. The other thing is, and we did talk yesterday about using Logic Remote or mobile, you could see that those colors do translate over. I don't know if you can see that here, but the colors inside the project now translate over here. So here it is. Here's the great way that coloring works very well. It's organizing, right? So if I am used to it in the project here, and I know that this blue to this purple is my drums or whatever they're doing, then when I look at it here in the mobile mixer, it's very easily identified, not only with its name, but also with its color. So that's why having things like color and why Logic thinks that things like color are a really good way of organizing our projects, our clips, our sections, our tracks, however you want to do it. Well, I think I just talked for about 35 minutes straight. So if anyone has a question, raise your hand. Anything about the shortcut keys that we learned today, please ask or forever hold your peace. And like I mentioned to you before, the shortcuts that were over here that we went into to start the lesson today aren't necessarily going to be on the test. They will be things that we will revisit, though, when we start working with audio and editing and things like that. So go ahead and raise your hand, and I will unmute you. Everyone fell asleep, just like class. This is crazy. 16 today, not too bad. I know for sure there's at least 18 that know how to get on this. So there's somebody missing today. And then I said, there's at least another 10 to 20 kids who I have not even been able to get in touch with. So for me, thank God you guys are all paying attention. So you guys should have no problem doing all this work and getting it in on time. By the way, I did send an email to everybody. There's still classwork outstanding. 2 people turned it in yesterday. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Mike. But there are still 9 other people that have not done it. There are 7 people who I've graded. And again, there's probably another 10 to 20 students who are not even in this classroom. So it's going to be a problem for them. There, you'll see. You're going to see a lot of sad faces and a lot of, I didn't know. And we all know you knew. So sorry. Shortcut keys. Shortcut keys. Shortcut keys. Nobody? Well, what if I did this and scared everybody? Oh, there's a. Hi, everybody. Shortcut keys. Anybody? Somebody. Somebody. I'm the only one. Well, Mike and I are the only ones that are dressed, right? For the most part, that's why no one else is on video today. I can't hear you. Hold on, let me unmute you. What'd you say?
Yeah, probably. I'm like the only one who got dressed here.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it a habit every day to get up relatively on time, to take a shower, to get dressed, to go about your day as normally as possible. Just to feel like you're not just some slob in a bed for 40 hours a week. So hopefully, people. I went out and ran yesterday. It was crazy. I did some workouts. I've been smoking meat. That's right. I have a smoker. I've been doing ribs and pork butt and. Keeping my time very productive. You might see me pop on the Instagram live feed in the next few days playing drums. So I started, I joined this group of people that are all, sorry, I'll meet you. You're dying over there. I joined this group of people that are going to daily give like an introspective thing on people's lives. And what they're doing to just fill their time and cope with stuff. So maybe one of those days I'll simulcast what I'm doing for them to our Instagram live page. The thing is, you probably won't hear the music that I'm playing with because of the way my phone is set up. You really can't have an interface with this. And I mean, I guess you could, but I don't own something like that. So you would probably just hear drums and watch me whack away on the skins as I sweat profusely in a very hot, stuffy garage attic. It'll be fun. But I'll tell you, I'll come back to school like 20 pounds lighter. The way I'm burning calories lately, it's unbelievable. Anybody have a question about shortcut keys? I think it is pretty straightforward. I'm not saying you probably should, but again, just go back through the notes and check out some of the tutorials I threw out there. A lot of those will have their shortcut keys. Yeah, one of the big things I did yesterday as we went through the stream, by the way, is I threw up a bunch of these Logic tutorial videos. So yesterday, I don't know what time, it was definitely after class, I threw up 3 of these here. These 2, the Logic Pro X video tutorial and the Logic Pro X Everything You Need to Know, are really useful, and they will cover a lot of the same short keys that we just did here. Here's the deal, and they haven't released the page yet, and I don't know if you've gone to it and seen this, but Apple is letting people get free 90-day trial of full versions of Final Cut Pro X and Logic Pro X. So look at this page here, this Variety. Obviously, I subscribe to this and get a lot of entertainment information. But Apple is making Final Cut and Logic available for a free 90-day trial amid the stay-at-home virus nonsense. And yeah, Tiger King. Anyway, so yeah, all this is pretty cool. Right now, the page for Final Cut is up, but the page for Logic is not fully up yet, but they are going to do it any day now. So you might want to make sure that you do that. Also, Avid announced last week that for qualified customers who are impacted by facility closures, need to temporarily enable remote workers. Hello, this is for education, by the way. They are allowing people to download and use Pro Tools, the full version of Pro Tools, for 90 days. So do yourself a favor, and as much as this stinks, take advantage of what these software companies are offering people. I know I posted something about Native Instruments giving away free plugins. If you subscribe to some of these websites, I almost guarantee you're going to find stuff on there that is free and will possibly be free forever. But at least now you got 3 full months that you guys that have a computer can use Logic Pro X on an Apple or Pro Tools on a PC. So do yourself a favor and take advantage of what's out there on the internet and allow these companies to help you out because they're willing to. So definitely take a look at that. And then the last one that I posted yesterday, and I forgot this, it was in my my bookmarks. It was after the fact. Logic Pro X tutorial videos. So this is an entire series of Logic videos that you guys can watch again in your own time. This one is getting started. So there might be parts of that you already have done, but now you're talking about some advanced tools, downloading content, version 2 sound library management, transport, colorize regions, and cycle mode. We'll talk a little bit about cycle mode this week. Sample rate, bit rate, IO. So look at all these things. Look at all these lessons and look at all these topics that they cover. Some of the same stuff that we cover, some of the same videos that I sometimes watch in class with you guys are from this guy. So Music Tech Help Guy does a great Logic Pro X video tutorial series. And it's well over 50 lessons long. So you could see how in-depth you can get from this. I mean, he's even going into filter sweeps with automation. He's doing synchronized video edits. So I gave you this link here as a last thing because I forgot it was up in my bookmarks. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I do have some more resources to send out to them. So these two are great. Check them out. They're just single videos about getting started and some basic stuff. This is about the free Pro Tools and Logic that could be available. And this one is a series of videos that you can watch. And then today, like I said, we will post this video right now. That will be up within the next half hour on the YouTube page. So you can rewatch it and go through some of the quick keys and write them down in your notebook. Tomorrow after the lesson, I'll repost the notes for the week so everyone has them. And then, of course, you can always go in and try your own quick keys out. And, of course, if you don't have Logic, that's why it's very important that you guys do watch the videos so it feels like you're in it. Unfortunately, not everyone has a Mac, and that's not something that anyone can change right now. But if, in fact, you do, you can go ahead and practice a little bit. And if you don't, if you just have a regular computer, by all means, take advantage of the free Pro Tools software that they're offering out there. If you don't get Pro Tools free, for free, then go for the full version for 90 days. Unbelievable. Very cool. All right. Well, last call on anybody that has a question about anything. We'll take your questions now, and then we'll end the session. All righty then. Well, we'll see everybody tomorrow for more good lesson times. This has been Mr. O'Toole signing off. Audio production, we out.